listening to Power Plug Radio.
Good morning. It is Friday. It's 11 o'clock, and you are here at the Summers for St. Pete podcast. I'm Mhariel Summers. I am your humble and gracious and very grateful candidate for District 6 here in this year's City Council races. Here with my buddy and captain, Jacob Terrell. Jacob, how you doing today?
Great. Yeah, it's a wild Friday, people.
It's a wild We have so much to discuss. This week, we had a special guest, but these rains and winds have kind of caused us to not have the guest this morning. So make sure you're protecting your property. Make sure you're trimming back those trees when the sun's out, and your gutters are all cleaned out, and that we have good property maintenance to avoid these crazy climate times. So we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about the climate. We might touch on, we talked a lot about the war in Afghanistan last week, but in lieu of our fallen soldiers, we got some laws passing in different states. And we have, I guess, just a climate situation in many states.
Yeah.
That I want to touch on. There's some music and cultural things going on. That are getting in the news, and the eviction moratorium. I mean, there's so much to cover. So we are not going to be short of topics this morning. But I do want to start with a campaign update. Here we are. We are in the home stretch, folks. The Summers for St. Pete campaign has been working hard to earn your vote, to earn your support, and here we are, about 60 days away. 60 days away, 2 months. So we are pounding the pavement. Donations. I want to start the show off asking. I wish I had my church plate right here. I passed it.
Right. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The old collection plate.
The collection plate. Right. I want to pass the collection plate. I want to pass it on over to my viewers here, and that's the Summers for St. Pete website. Visit our website, and you can donate to our campaign from right there. But we need your support. We need your help. Can't do it without the good folks who help us here. So we've been out knocking doors. We've been releasing some endorsements. We've been
little meet and greets.
Yep. Had a great candidate meet and greet at Copa.
Oh yeah.
Copa is a lounge right there. I want to say off of what is that, like 13th Street?
Yeah.
And Central Avenue, right there in my district, owned by one of my high school buddies.
Nice. So I did not know that. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it just rolls off the tongue so nicely too. The Copa Lounge.
Yeah. It is definitely a nice place. The ahi tuna, I had the ahi tuna. It was banging.
Oh yeah.
And I had great conversations with voters.
Nice.
So folks are excited. They're excited to hear, our message, our platform, our vision, the fact that we're homegrown and prepared and ready to get in and serve on day one.
Right.
We're winning folks over. So those are some great things. And then, what else do we got going on campaign wise? We will be out tomorrow. With our friends at Positive Impact Church at Tangerine Plaza. We have a food drive. Now,
nice.
Tangerine Plaza is a food desert.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The south side there. Yeah.
Now, food desert is the term, but I hate saying food desert because it, like a desert, is something natural, right? And it implies that this is like a natural area that just doesn't have. It's a place that is requiring the public sector, private sector, partnerships alike, for folks to come together to create real solutions for a community of folks who just need access to groceries.
Yeah.
And the only groceries can't be the ones that are coming from a food drive.
Exactly. Yeah.
Once a Saturday, it's not fair. It's not right. So.
And I was going to say, because there used to be something in and around there, right? But I mean, it was kind of in and out, like a Winn-Dixie or a Publix or something of that nature.
It was a Sweet Bay.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then they got bought out, so they.
No, they left, and Walmart came.
Oh, okay.
And then Walmart left.
Oh wow.
And then Walmart came back.
Wow. So this is just a very much an ongoing thing.
And then Walmart left again.
Yeah. Because as of right now, it stands empty, correct?
It is empty.
Yeah.
And if you look at the surrounding neighborhoods, they are all predominantly African American.
Yeah.
All predominantly low to middle class income.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But folks who, so many of the people who don't have a car in this city live in District 6 and in this area around Tangerine Plaza. So many people who are raising like multi-generational households. When you talk about the grandparents or aunts or uncles or cousins coming to live with other family, man, you have so many multi-family households there that rely on access to.
But I can think of the Publix on Central, and then there's a Publix on 54th South. Right. So I mean that's a huge.
Yeah, and then there's the Save-A-Lot over outside of where I live. I live in
Coquina Key. So Coquina Key, and then way up on 34th. So it's literally like an outward
and folks
boxed-in barrier.
I mean, they have to travel too far. They have to travel too far to get access to food, and so it's something that needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
It's something I totally think needs to be worked on.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're working with them, awesome. Because the other thing I wanted to have you point out too is the little newspaper aspect you got going on here.
Yeah. So let's point that out. Should we switch these up? Yeah, we good. All right, hang on. Switch these.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Mhariel recently was featured in the Weekly Challenger. And we're talking a full-blown half-page spread.
Yes, sir.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, she was killing it.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Word. One time for the technical solutions in mid-show. But thank you for bringing that up, Jacob. So, folks, this is last week's version, last week's edition of the Weekly Challenger. And it may still be available for pickup at some places that, you may still have a couple copies sitting, so be on the lookout for it. But yeah, my buddy is not lying here. Centerfold.
Oh yeah,
that's my mug.
Yeah. Look at that headline too. I love the headline because
it says Mhariel Summers looking for answers and finding them in politics.
Right.
And I had a great conversation with Mark Parker, who writes for the Challenger. And just talking about the things that we've been talking about all summer, how we're going to do this, growth with visible equity, sustainability, resiliency, what's missing from the current representative and the alternative that we stand to bring. So please check that out. That's on newsstands. And
yeah, we'll get that up on the page and stuff too.
Yeah,
obviously,
it is. I think it's already. So visit the Summers for St. Pete website and hit the news tab. That's been recently updated. You can see videos from previous forums and interviews.
Right.
There's a link to all of our previous podcasts, so you can kind of catch up on what we've been doing here on the show. And you can also read some of the print that has been
all
printed.
the fun stuff we've been doing. I would say because you went to a little like a state attorney type like kickoff event. So you've been going to some other events as well too for other people.
Miller is running for our notorious seat held for so long by Mr. Bernie McCabe, who's no longer with us, and now the seat is being challenged democratically. There was a Republican contender in the early 90s, but it's being challenged by a Democrat for the first time since the civil rights era.
Wow. That's huge.
It is. It's so huge. So she's great.
Mind-boggling.
Ms. Miller's great. She served as a public defender, and I guess when you serve from that aspect, you see a lot of people who probably get jaded by the system.
Yeah.
You see a lot of areas where we could probably improve, and make improvements, but in a way that appeals to law and appeals to, systems that we have in place. So been a busy week on the campaign trail. We're going to keep working hard, but it has been a crazy week.
Yeah. Let's expand out. Yeah. Let's go national now.
So let's start talking. So before this started, we were talking about
the weather.
We were talking about the weather. Yeah. So Ida barreled into New Orleans, and whenever things are happening like that, I'm always on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like I'm always looking at, what people are trying to say in real time about it.
Yeah.
And it was it's been horrifying like all week. First with the people in New Orleans, sending out SOS, requests, 2 kids, 2 adults in the attic.
Oh, yeah.
This is the address.
Hundreds of calls. Yeah.
Shout out to the Cajun Navy.
Yeah, I love always hearing that. Oh, yeah, and the Cajun Navy's out here.
Dude, shout out to the Cajun Navy.
You've got like National Guard, FBI, like all these like high powered like actual government official people, and then the Cajun Navy.
It's the Cajun Navy that's out there. Like, we don't care if it's a storm. Exactly. We're going to save people.
Exactly. Because again, I picture them on the fan boats. I picture them on the fan boats just whipping around.
Dude, look up the Cajun Navy, and it is exactly the visible aspect of what you're talking about. It's exactly what you think.
3 out of 5 rescuers are all named Gator.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, Gator?
Right. Little Gators on the boat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look. Those are some of the bravest men and women in some cases. Yeah. They're not worried about their lives. They're worried about the lives of their fellow residents. And I just love grassroots and like community-based initiatives like that.
They definitely know like what's up in their area because it's swamp, it's low-lying.
Yeah.
I mean,
they probably know it better than some of these officials.
Exactly. So I mean, some of these guys, like you said, born and raised there. I mean, this is what they do. And they any of these storms that happen quite frequently, unfortunately, they are quick to spring into action. Yeah, for sure.
But Ida was bad. It really flooded out. It put all of New Orleans, 100% of New Orleans in the dark.
Power. Yeah, that's wild.
Which they're up to getting that back up to speed now, so they're definitely have.
But hearing that number, literal 100% blackout, one of
I'm like, the United States premier cities.
Yeah,
it's a premier city in the United States, and to hear that it's 100% blackout due to a storm.
Yeah. And one little thing I want to touch on, just because I come from a jazz background, the jazz world, like there was one of Louis Armstrong's like original homes.
I seen that. Or the place he used to go as a child to relentlessly learn how to.
It was one of the heritage, like Louis Armstrong, like one of the big memorial places, like historical, and it's no longer there.
Yeah.
So shout out to all my jazz folks.
Yeah, and the people who are recovering in New Orleans, let's make sure as a neighboring, I guess, coastal community that we're not just forgetting this week and moving on to the next news topics next week. But
and that's the next thing. Like Ida, you had, like you said, it went from New Orleans too, and now it went up to New.
That's what I was going to talk about next. So after fretting on earlier this week, kind of reading those SOS tweets and stuff.
Yeah,
literally, like in the past couple nights, it's been these tweets and information coming straight out of New York and New Jersey. Yeah. More people died in New York and New Jersey as a result of Hurricane Ida so far than reported in like the areas that have been directly hit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is look it up, folks. Yeah. Look up NYC flooding right now. Look up the hashtag New Jersey flooding. Yeah. Look up the hashtags and look at the catastrophic, undeniable video evidence of how one of our largest, most dense regions is being washed away.
First time in history that New York City had to issue a flash flood warning for the 5 boroughs.
For the 5 boroughs. Like, and you see in the videos, you see the water is literally like flashing in people's houses. People are recording 1 minute, little leak. Next thing you know, it's coming out of the toilets. It's coming out of the sinks. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's the crazy thing. You're on the 5th floor, but your apartment is flooded.
Yeah. The subway system looked like a car wash.
Yeah, the subway looks like a car wash.
I was literally looking at it. I'm like, that's what I drive my car down, like when I'm getting the old $15 wash down the street.
The people up north are not prepared for it, but I think if I had to give a most Florida award to one of the regions, it'd be Philadelphia after some of the pictures I witnessed, because those folks were like kayaking and like canoeing as their bridges and things were flooded.
Exactly. Yeah, guys out there just like, acting. That's good Florida. Way to play it. Good way to put it. I love
Florida
that.
award. Y'all played well. Y'all played well. No match for Florida.
It's so true.
Because we hold barbecues during hurricanes. But on a very serious matter, man, I think it talks to the need for some type of national infrastructure response. Climate response infrastructure. Yeah. Our infrastructure simply isn't equipped for Mother Nature right now.
No.
You know,
the entire West Coast, like on fire.
We didn't talk about California's on fire.
Like there are the first time ever issues about water usage for the Colorado River. Like the Colorado River, like the lifeline for like Las Vegas, and all of these major cities, they're saying it's drying up.
It's drying up.
Like, this is
Drying
not
up.
good, people. Like, the West Coast soon might be kind of what that apocalyptic, like, barren, like,
I'm glad you
wasteland
used that word. I'm glad you used that word because, as folks know, I'm religious, and if I had a chance to talk to some of the old grandmothers, they'd probably tell us we're living in the last days, young people.
Right.
We're living in the last days. You got apocalyptic fires. You got hurricanes and floods.
Oh, yeah.
You got pandemics going on. It's Babylon is Babylon falling, right?
Yeah.
So now more than ever, whether you are spiritual, religious, or just a person who's paying attention to the trends, we got to pay attention to how we can mitigate some of this. Some
of it. Not even all of it. We're not even like, okay, we're not trying to stop it all. Like,
right. We
just
can't.
Some.
I can't stop hurricanes.
Exactly.
We can't. We don't have power over the weather conditions.
But certain things. Like water usage.
We don't need to make it polarizing. We don't need to say, well, in 1930. Yeah. Actually, there were more that, people were also like average life expectancy was like 50.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot going on in the 30s,
Yeah.
But here in 2021, we have the technology, we have the resources. We are the wealthiest nation, or at least wealth and power combined.
Yeah.
We're the apex. And so here we are overseas, leaving a war zone, and dealing with all of these catastrophes on the domestic level. Mm-hmm. It's a sensitive time to be an American.
Oh yeah.
We don't have time to be polarized, right, left, everything's
especially
political.
over stuff that, like you said, that we don't have control over too. Things like the weather and like climate change and this, that, like even people that don't believe in quote unquote like the man-made effects of climate change, at some point they're going to have to step up to the plate and be like, okay, it might not be man-made, whatever, but like it is increasing. Like,
whether you think it's increasing or not, our infrastructure's old.
Yeah, and
that's a fact.
That too,
and that's not up for debate. And it is no match for Mother Nature.
Yeah,
whether it's man-made or it's just natural, we need to save our cities. And we need to do that by ensuring that we are investing in our infrastructure. Nationwide, from the roads to the pipes, the electrical grids that we're using, how much
dams, levee systems, any of it,
all of it. You're talking about water drying up in the Colorado River and decimating the whole region.
Because again, even just and not that I don't, not anything, but again, we're talking an entire city knocked out. Power. New Orleans, one of the biggest cities in the country, and we're talking 100% covered blackout. Like,
now, granted,
that's wild in this day and age.
Granted, new technology allowed them to kind of like pop back, and I was seeing some funny tweets like, "Come on, y'all got the zoo's power on before y'all got my power on. Do I gotta go live with the giraffes?
Right.
To get some." But granted, the response measures are always ever improving.
Yeah.
We have to be a little bit more proactive. We got to be a little bit more proactive because it's a sensitive time to be the United States, and we don't have the leeway to have a weak populace in these coming years, in these coming decades. We don't have the leeway to have a vulnerable map.
Yeah.
And when you have weak infrastructure, man, when your people are easily displaced, when you have unemployment that can jump and skyrocket at these little things, they all relate to the economy. And if we're going to be this powerful capitalist nation, we have to make sure that we're protecting our assets, which are our city, our ability to go out, our
and
ability
work and make a living and do things. Because again,
but the American way, what's the American way? The American way is going out to dinner. It's going to Top Golf. You know what I mean? What's the American way? It's getting on some scooters. We are
barbecue.
It's some
beer
barbecuing,
drinking, and
having some people over to the house. That's the American way. How do we protect it's going to another place you've never been before.
Traveling, spending money.
But in your country, right? Because it's so many foreign places in America. So I'm sure some people come to Florida and are like, what is this place?
Yeah.
You know, what is this place? But
again, I just went out to Vegas and I'm looking around like, where am
exactly.
I? Where in the hell am I? This is still America?
It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite things about us being kind of this isolated nation, you know, where we don't share many borders like a lot of other nations maybe who have try and get wealth and power.
Right.
We're isolated, baby. We're right over here, and we can go through 50 states and have different experiences and enjoy our prosperity, you know, enjoy being the hegemony. But all of that stuff comes into a very sensitive and very vulnerable space when we're not protecting the very citizens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who are keeping things afloat over here.
Exactly. Yeah.
People need to be able to afford to live in the society that we've built play around.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be able to withstand these exogenous shocks like hurricanes, pandemics, flash floods. I don't know much about earthquakes. We don't deal with that in this hemisphere.
Yeah, I was just saying, that's the West Coast.
So I don't want to talk about the earthquakes and the fires because I'm not knowledgeable.
Yeah, that's actually one I've never been a part of, an earthquake. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a couple buddies that have done the earthquake thing, and like, oh yeah,
and you know what's crazy? The way the plates align. Think about in the last 15 years, Haiti has had 2 catastrophic.
Right.
Has it been 15 years since the first?
I believe so. It was like the mid 2000s. I think like 2005.
So even if you say in the last 20 years, just to be sure, right?
Exactly.
They've had 2 catastrophic hurricanes because where the not hurricanes, earthquakes.
Yeah.
Because of where the plates meet.
Yeah, the old tectonic shifts.
The little shifts in the plates. But here we are in Florida, couple 100 miles north.
Yeah.
You know, and we don't experience you know, any shifting of our place.
Yeah, because it was Hostetter. He went to, I think it was Puerto Rico for one of the like, you know, school, took some students down there, and while they were down there, that was only like a year or two ago. Yeah. Felt an earthquake.
Yeah.
Like
the ground's trembling.
Right.
So
and that is kind of wild though, because again, I've never thought about that there is earthquakes maybe 200 miles away, roughly a couple 100 miles away, and it's like
the ground is not shaking Florida. You know, I don't know. I like to believe in the Indian burial ground fable because here New York is got catastrophic flooding. Right. But here in Florida, hurricanes are like, we're gonna go to Florida, psych. You know, we're gonna go back into the. We're gonna go. No, we're gonna go to South Florida. We've been hit, but not in the Tampa Bay area. But let's not take those things for granted, folks. Let's look at it as luck, as blessings, and not something that's guaranteed. Keep preparing. Yes, we sit in a hot spot for. You know, that very big climate disaster. Yeah,
and I don't mean stock and water. I mean like what you were talking about, infrastructure aspects. You know, we need to start, like upgrading this, that, and the other. It's weather's only getting crazier. So.
Yeah, we have to be prepared, and make sure that the people are prepared beyond just, you know, having the predictions about what could be or what not. Let's make sure folks are taking advantage of chances to update their house through we have so many programs in the city. I like they have the low affordable interest rates to update your house for solar energy. The solar energy loan fund. And that's why I want to run for council. I think we got to make more of those types of opportunities available for homeowners. You have so many homeowners who bought their house like 20 years ago. 30 years ago, who have so much value equity wise in their homes. Right. Let's give these homeowners a chance to update their properties. And
I don't understand why the entire state of Florida does not run on solar energy.
Well, let's get into state politics real quick. I wanted to take a break, but we started a little late, so I'm good to just keep going if you're good. You're good? Everybody's good? All right, let's keep going. So now that we're talking about the states, we were talking before the show about how the state power is kind of getting out of control. Yeah. And we used Texas and their new abortion law. 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, your Uber driver, if he drives you to another state, can be found guilty. Right. And face jail time for taking you to get an abortion. Other citizens can report on you. Is this China?
Yeah. Right.
Is it?
Right.
Is Texas China? I can say, hey, I'm just calling because I think my neighbor had an abortion and opened a whole investigation in which the government
now has to get involved and
is involved in your
and,
personal matters.
Yeah. It's
states are on the loose in the South. What do you think about it?
I mean, the fact that it extends that far, like you said, to the point of frivolous lawsuits at this point too. Like that was one of those huge things that Republicans always fought against. Like, we need to, clamp down on the litigious society and do away with frivolous lawsuits. But again, now they've just
frivolous lawsuits and government overreach.
Exactly,
has always been a big conservative platform.
But again,
get the government. Don't tread on me.
Exactly, two things that
don't tread on me.
Going back,
except for if you're a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're a woman, you're gonna get tread on. In fact, if you get pregnant at 6 weeks, no matter the circumstance, no matter the outcome of the child, or you just don't have any decision making. And
excuse me,
I don't know. On one hand, it forces people to be more cautious with the way that they're handling their personal affairs. And I imagine birth control and things as to contraceptives. I'm going to feel like we're in the beginning stages of Handmaid's Tale.
Right. Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, between that and the fact that, the 6 week aspect, too, that is so early that, obviously, that's one of those. Most women don't know even at the 6 week point.
Yeah.
And I just would love to hear more from some of the just overall general practitioner doctors, about some of the input about because the Republicans are so quick to be like, it has a heartbeat. Oh my God, it's got the heartbeat.
That's the thing. And we can get into the dimensions. I love these types of conversations because you can get into the dimensions of human existence from a fetal position, from a technological and sentient position, what is life, and when is life, to be respected, right?
Because I just want to hear it from almost like a legal perspective. I want to hear it from a medical / legal perspective, because again, at the end of life, to a degree, crazy accidents or whatever it may be, if you're in a vegetative state with zero brain activity, you still have a heartbeat. You're still technically a person, but again,
they unplug. They end life all the time.
Exactly. So
life is ended all the time when the heart is still beating.
Exactly.
But there's no. And at 6 weeks, has your brain developed?
No. I don't.
Come on, man.
Exactly.
Come on.
That is so. That's the only thing I'm trying to say is I want to hear more from medical. What is the quote unquote medical legal sense of life? Is it the heartbeat or is it technically the brain activity?
We're political science majors, and we already know that the message, who you're gonna hear from, depends on who's in power.
Yeah.
And that's how these things get passed. Yeah. That's how these things become law. That's how a Supreme Court of the United States votes 5-4.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we were talking, I'm like, no, I thought they just didn't hear it. And you're like, no, they voted on it.
It was like a late night session too. I think the vote came in at 11:54 in the evening or something like that.
Look, here's the thing, folks.
5-4, and I believe Justice Chief Justice Roberts.
Roberts dissented, and Breyer joined the conservative side. And I'm so interested. Okay, here's another app recommendation for y'all folks. There's an app called Oyez, OYEZ. OYEZ. I'm like, is it OYESE? No. It's OYEZ. Yeah. Oh yes, yep. I'm looking at it right now. OYEZ. If you download the Oyez app, you can literally go and listen to the opinions of every Supreme Court case. Mm-hmm. You can go back and read them. You can read who bought the case up, what the appeals court, what the district court decided, and how it made it. I love this app.
Yeah, because they break it down too. They've got the briefs on there too. Yeah. They got it all.
They got the briefs. They got everything you can research. And so I'm interested in reading the opinions, especially Justice Breyer. Justice Breyer has often voted with the liberal side of the court. He's often stood with Sotomayor, Ginsburg when God rest her when she was on the on the court. And
now people know why we were freaking out when RBG died.
Yes. Because of things like this. RBG passed away last year. Yeah. And here we are, the year after she passes, and abortion, her staple Roe versus Wade, her staple on the Supreme Court, now being washed away at the court's hand. So our only saving grace when it comes to abortion at this stage in the game is going to be legislation.
Yeah, because Biden's trying to do talk about like executive actions and this, that, and the other.
Right.
But obviously, when the Supreme Court actually makes a ruling, there is next to nothing that the executive branch can do.
It's very much on our state level how our governor tried to impose an anti-mask mandate.
Yeah.
Well, the Florida Supreme Court, or a judge in Florida, it hasn't made it to the Florida Supreme Court, but a judge in Florida said that no, this is not in the purview of your powers. It violates the Florida Constitution, and struck it down.
Yeah.
And so he has the opportunity to appeal it at the appeals court. If the appeals court changes the district court ruling, then it will go to the Florida Supreme Court for the final say. But at bottom, whether you're talking about the state or you're talking about the nation, the Supreme Court is the law of the land.
Yeah.
They have the highest authority in this land. And so if they say something is constitutional or it's not constitutional, every lower court is going to follow. Every lower agency, including the president, is going to follow. And the only people who can challenge the courts is the legislature. That's how the checks and balances work. So here on the Florida...
and it's not even like per se a challenge. It's just, we got to come up with a new law. We got to vote. We got to create whatever it may be.
We got to circumvent this ruling. Exactly. And once the Supreme Court, has to hear this new law that Congress or the legislature or city council has put into place, well, they say, they are within their powers to do that. And now we are bound by the new law. This happened with the Civil Rights Act. This happened with the Voting Rights Act. This happened in so many cases where, this happened with the 13th Amendment. This happened with the abolishment of slavery.
Oh, yeah. Women's rights in the 70s, all the big RBG stuff. Yeah, like you said, Roe v. Wade.
So Roe v. Wade came at the hands of the court, right? But you had... I like to use, because everyone knows about like the ending of slavery or whatever. How are we on time? Oh, we got time for a couple more topics. But just to wrap this topic up, it was Plessy versus Ferguson that happened, where the Supreme Court of the United States determined that separate but equal was okay.
Yeah.
And so for so many years after 1898, it was like the end of the 1800s. Plessy versus Ferguson happened. Yeah. Separate but equal.
Like the end of Reconstruction, basically. Yeah.
Yep. It was the Supreme Court that decided that was going to be. But it was the Brown versus the Board of Education that rebought this question of separate but equal back into the courts. But it was the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that made it the law that you could not have separate accommodations, public accommodations for folks. Yeah. And so the way that I say all that to say, with this abortion mandate, because we talked about Florida's going to follow suit.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, in case we didn't touch on that yet, Florida unfortunately has already talked about following suit within hours.
Yeah.
I mean, within hours of the Supreme Court ruling, because that was like what you said, all the land. So now I guarantee it's not just Florida, obviously, but we're talking. It's
probably all across the South.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely
you already know it's going to be just a domino effect wave of red southern states.
Look, folks, this is why who you elect as president is important, because we had Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett.
I always mess up her. Justice Barrett.
Comey.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, see, I don't even.
It's mess up your middle
James
name.
Comey, Amy Coney. Yeah, I get it.
Exactly.
But Amy Coney Barrett.
Justice Barrett.
Kavanaugh
and Gorsuch, all appointed by President Trump
within 4 years.
Within 4 years of his small time, he set a lifetime appointment for 3 of our 9 Supreme Court justices, and they within the year of a death of one of our court's most liberal champions have already begun to reformat the way the United States is approaching very philosophical, religious, and social issues such as abortion. It is, in my mind, a woman's right to choose and we will leave it there unless you have any final thoughts. That's my last thought on that. Texas abortion thing.
I was going to say my last thought, I guess, is just that I feel like if there is going to be a massive wave of, this coupled with maybe some other things, like Texas also did their no requirement for carrying pistols around in Texas now as well. So again, a lot of these laws, it's just kind of a very hard and rigorous shock to our legal system right now.
It's unsettling.
Exactly.
When you talk about all of the other disparities that exist in society, whether it's the wealth disparity, whether you want to look at it via demographics and the race disparity, the mental health disparities, and the access disparities.
Exactly.
People's access either to higher education or to healthy food, like we were talking about a little earlier. There are so many disparities that exist to just allow this to become the wild, wild west once again, as Texas is notoriously known for. I think it works to keep the current social order. Holding on, the old guard has a little bit. Even if you have a minority, right? Because we talked about this a few episodes ago. 2050 white population is going to be one of the minorities. We're looking at a Hispanic population that is just booming. This is why folks are talking about anti-immigrant. We haven't even talked about the Afghanistan immigrants, but I've heard a lot of anti-immigration rhetoric from those folks who are just looking for a safe place to live and operate. And so you think about how all of these things come into play with why legislation is leaning the way it is. And for me, it is an attempt to maintain. You know what I mean? It's when things are constantly changing, pandemics, floods, fires, the rise of a new generation. Let's make no mistake about it. If you were born in 1990 like me, you were 31 this year.
Right.
You know what I mean? Make no mistake about it. You're a business owner. You're a parent. You're trying to run for public office. You're trying to buy a home. You're trying to do something in which you need the world around you to work in your favor. You're trying to grow in your career. You're trying to graduate and get that secondary, post-secondary degree, something. Right? In which you need the world around you to be a lot more responsive than it is. So 330 million people. You need more people at ease in America. You need more people at ease in America. Which brings me to the next point, our eviction moratorium.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a good one, though, because that's actually kind of a good story, obviously, because, the eviction moratorium ended, but luckily Biden swooped in and was like, all right, we got to at least extend that out a little bit.
But the Supreme Court ruled it down.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my goodness.
The Supreme Court. So staying on topics of the courts.
That's right.
Here you have, again, this court that we talked about, the makeup of it.
That was not a good story.
Sorry,
guys.
Sorry. Yeah. It was that glimmer of hope.
Right.
But they said, no, this has gone on despite a Delta variant.
Yeah. Because that's what they were citing. So that's kind of the last I saw of it, was basically like Biden coming in and being like, look, I mean, with all of this still going on, this shouldn't be even a problem. Like,
exactly. But
unless you're heartless. Sorry, getting wily on a Friday, guys.
No. It's easy to get wily when you think about the number of people who are facing life-changing conditions. In a time like this, you live in. We said it earlier on. Wealth and power-wise, one of the best nations that you could have been born in the 21st century. Why is it that when it faces an exogenous shock like a pandemic, why is it that the market itself doesn't operate in a way where over time wages can keep up with the cost of living? Why is it so hard for the American people to keep up?
That's going to be a long-winded, extremely nuanced answer, but obviously
we'll finish that. That'll be our last topic because we got a few minutes to talk about it. So let's get into it, man. Like, what do you think that's about? Like,
well, because for me, it's just very much one of those. A lot of quote unquote companies that should have folded a long time ago have been kind of propped up. bailouts, this, that, and the other. So again, I feel like companies to a degree now almost have that built into their system. They expect bailouts once they become too big because we are in a society now in the 21st century, too big to fail aspect.
See, but that's the problem that I have is too big to fail.
I hate it. I hate that term. Like, I wish.
But by the time you become too,
fail.
Well, I don't, because a lot of people depend on them. So I don't hope for their failure. I just wish there was a lot more checks and balances on the way to too big to fail.
Yeah.
Because before you get too big to fail, you're becoming a premier.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because
staple of our
you don't start off at the top.
You don't start off at the top.
Yeah, like
so
you gotta build to that.
Exactly. And I'm not one to stifle the private market, and I do think that government should stay out. But at what point do we implement corporate responsibility?
Exactly.
Corporate citizenship.
Yeah. No.
Corporate citizenship. If your entity is based here in the United States, or your client base, your customer base is primarily American citizens, you have to have some type of responsibility to the American in one way or the other, whether it's responsible wages, whether it's the way that you're investing back, whether it's how you grow from within. I mean, we can no longer go for these hoity-toity corporate messages about caring about the people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because we all know, because again, the veil has been lifted on that. Like, we all know that the corporations, it's again all about the bottom dollar.
Man, for your shareholder, and so I think the American populace, we can no longer kind of be divided in this group of people who ultimately want to become wealthy shareholders in some type of successful entity. And those of us who are currently caught up in the wage system, who need answers immediately, who need relief, immediate protection immediately, security immediately. There are far too many more people in the latter than the former. And so here we're sold this message that we need to protect the market. We need to protect capitalism. We need to make sure that we have a investment fertile type atmosphere that doesn't stifle development. Right? This is the narrative. I agree. But to what extent, right? Like, exactly. and how many Americans have to find themselves in compromised lives? Forget compromised situations. Right? You got folks living compromised lives out here as American citizens who can't find a leg up. Who are met with things that they didn't plan for, like pandemics, or floods, or fires.
And again, it just upsets me because, again, like you said, no one can plan for things like pandemics or anything like this. But again, like post 2008, you have all of these businesses that clearly hit rock bottom. Banks, airline, whatever it may be. 2008 was a bad time, but between 2010 to 2020, pre-coronavirus, you're talking record profits. Across the board.
See, but that's the delicate balance. It goes back into our conversation about our international place on the stage, right? If we're I call us the dictators of democracy, because we come in like, you should have democracy, and if you're against democracy, then you are a threat, and we must neutralize you as such.
Exactly.
But for us to carry that banner, it requires those multinational corporations to be successful. And so when you have a bad period like 2008, you know what I mean, or anything that threatens our international position, we're literally threatening our world hold on democracy. We're threatening our homogeny in the world. So it becomes very complicated, and I think you see it now with the troops kind of being pulled out of Afghanistan, and prayers up for the families if you pray, or keep them in your thoughts, and the families of the 13 fallen soldiers who are lost here. Make no mistake about it, the region that we're leaving is not going to be a peaceful region. It's not going to be. It's going to, over this next decade, depend on how our larger threats, like our Russias and our Chinas, how they interact in those regions. I think is going to depend a lot on how the United States is going to move
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's about protecting our economy, protecting our position as one of the world's leading GDPs.
Yeah.
And anytime that's threatened, intrinsically we seem to have to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Still doesn't help the people.
No, because I guess the simple answer to it all is going back to my talking about the record profits aspect is exogenous shocks and everything. So coronavirus hits. Yeah. These very same companies that posted record profits for 10 years are now asking for bailouts again. Yeah. Where does the money go?
Where does that money go?
It goes to, buyback, shareholder buyback programs, things of this nature. It's enriching the 1%.
It is.
So
to your point, if you have a President Trump who comes in and rewrites that tax code in a way that allows your children to inherit the money in a non-taxable way to allow certain trusts to not be taxed, you're able to take that money, store that money up like acorns do for the winter, or like squirrels do acorns for the winter.
Right. Yeah. But to survive these shocks, quote unquote, is to have these companies not invest in quote unquote shareholders in the 1%. But this is what we're talking about. Pay your workers more. You want everyone to be okay when these crazy things happen out of left field. Maybe pay these guys more. So, hey, now homie does have 30, 40,000 in savings. Not a whole lot comparatively to some people in the world, but he's got enough to,
in America, he's going to be able to survive.
Exactly.
And it
not paycheck to paycheck. But again,
to me, it makes common
reinvestment
sense.
into people overall, that's obviously a simplistic answer.
Yeah.
But
that's
again,
a lot of what my platform follows, folks.
Yeah.
So here we are, at the end of a great conversation. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed kind of having it, because these things are happening around us every day, and we have to pay attention to what we're doing on the local level, what's happening at our state level, and what we can influence on our federal level. We didn't get to Joe Manchin. We didn't get to letting these folks filibuster if they're going to filibuster before we throw out the filibuster. Let's show the American people how foolish something like that looks, and let's pass the John Lewis voting right to act.
We can talk about that next week a little bit, just because I feel like
we have to.
Florida is going to pretty much come out with their anti-abortion bill along with some of these other states. So we'll definitely
we'll talk. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about
how to beat the Supreme Court at their own game. Got to get around them legislatively.
What do the people do? What do these people who are not part of this wealthy populace and this secured populace? How do we find some sort of stability in our own nation? It starts at the local level. It starts for voting for people like myself, who's going to support the small business owner and the local entrepreneur as a part of our city's growth for the next 10 years. You are important to me. So look, I'm Mhariel Summers. I am here each and every Friday with Jacob. We'll have a special guest next week. I know the last 2 weeks we've been, just kind of catching up and chatting, but it's needed. But join us, please, next Friday right here on powerplugradio.com. Shout outs to Powerplug. Get your weekly challenger, and we will see you all next Friday. I'm Mhariel Summers. Have a good week, folks.
Have a good one.
You're listening to Powerplug Radio, home of your throwback jams.